Deputy Speaker, I'm very pleased to be able to speak in this important debate and to follow the Honourable Lady, the member for Faversham and Mid-Kent. And I'm speaking in support of Labour's reasoned amendments setting out our opposition on this side of the House to the Finance Bill, including our opposition to the 4.7 billion reduction in the banking levy whilst children's services are cut, and the lack of adequate equalities impact assessments, the lack of provision for lifting the public sector pay cap, or for addressing the funding crisis in social care and in our NHS. And what I believe is fundamentally a lack of concrete action to properly tackle tax avoidance and evasion. There are a number of areas that I'm afraid I won't be able to cover, but I didn't want to make a contribution without mentioning the WASPI women. I'm justice for the WASPI women, we all say on this side of the House, and I'm sorry that the Minister, the Honourable Member for Hexham, is no longer in his place, because there will be an opportunity for the government to do something about that on Thursday during the backbench or after the backbench business committee debate. I'm concerned the budget doesn't do enough for disabled people. I'm concerned about stagnant pay and the failure to provide resources to lift the pay cap, and the failure to provide resources for local government and for the funding of our police and fire services. On housing, the Honourable Lady, the member for Faversham, was saying that Labour aren't proposing any concrete, tangible solutions. But I've been around for a few years now, and looking back at what works and concerns legitimately expressed that these proposals on stamp duty are the wrong solution, it's quite legitimate to raise those. My understanding is that 40% of social houses, council houses that were originally sold under the right to buy are now in private ownership, and on average rents in the private sector are twice the rents of council houses in the social housing sector. That cost this nation £10 billion, not as a one-off, but each and every year. So surely a sensible person would say in those circumstances we should be building many more social houses. And the government's target, I believe, is about 200 or 250,000 houses a year. The 300,000, well, I thank the Honourable Member for that sedentary intervention. The last time we got anywhere near that was in 1973, as I'm sure the Honourable Member will recall. That's the year Sunderland won the FA Cup. Ian Porterfield scored the goal. Jimmy Montgomery, a marvellous double save to Trevor Cherry and Peter Lorimer, I believe. And in 1973, there were actually 100,000 council houses built. And that's the scale and the magnitude of the challenge we face. And that's something the government should take account of. But like a number of my honourable friends, I want to concentrate in the little time that I have about making the case for more investment in integrated transport networks, particularly in the northeast. We've heard from the northwest, and I want to put the case for the northeast. I believe the budget's the time when the government makes choices, makes political choices, and should be held to account. I want to acknowledge that the government did announce an investment in the metro system on Tyneside. That's certainly important. The metro is 40 years old, though, and it's a replacement of rolling stock. I represent the constituency of Easington, and I'd love to see the metro extended into the hinterlands of Tyne and Wear, providing opportunities for expansion in towns like Seaham and Peterlee in my constituency. That would naturally promote economic growth in the north. It would help to join up communities and allow access to jobs in places like Sunderland, Gateshead and Newcastle. And I would like to point out to the Minister, I know we like evidence. We like an evidence base. So can I please draw the Minister's attention to an excellent House of Commons library publication, Transport Spending by Region, and it was published just last month, and gives transport spending totals overall and the margin, the discrepancy between investment in the North East, and it's factored for population, and London, it's a factor overall of 10 times more investment in London, 4 times more in the South East compared to the North East. For railways, 20 times more and 5 times more for the South East. So, when we say there's a big investment in the metro system, I have to recognise over that 5-year period from 2011 to 2016, we've had a massive lack of investment. We've been terribly underinvested over that period. So I do think I'll give way the honourable gentleman.
He makes a very good point in terms of the disparity in investments. He's back interested behind those figures that the monies from central government are very similar across the country. It is the ability of London to leverage their investment with private sector investment and local authority investment, because the local authorities get a much better deal too.
Okay. I thank the honourable member for that intervention. I'm sure that is true, and I've had conversations about the nature of some of the very large-scale transport infrastructure investments that are in effect self-funding. And I think we should apply some of the principles. I was a great fan of the documentaries about opening up the West and the railways and so on with Michael Portillo, and he makes the case, investment wasn't put into the existing cities on the East Coast, it was put into the West to open the West up in order to bring jobs, investment and so on. So I think there's an enormous case for that. I want to say something quickly about the A19. It's vital to the economic health and well-being of my constituency. However, it's a dangerous road, and at this time of year, it's a nightmare for people travelling in my constituency. I want the Minister and the Government to future-proof our regional transport infrastructure. There are multiple housing developments in my constituency, and that will create tens of thousands more vehicles and journeys in my area. We want to encourage new businesses to locate on the A19 corridor, and the road is already too dangerous and not fit for purpose. I would urge the Minister, if he doesn't believe me, and I haven't got a House of Commons library paper to support it, but if he just Googles the A19, there's a whole list of terrible headlines. 11-car pile-up on the A19, even in the Daily Mail. He might be more inclined to believe that newspaper than the Sunderland Echo, which is reporting just this afternoon that the A19's reopened after a 6-vehicle crash near Seaham brings traffic to a standstill, Seaham being in my constituency. A whole list of accidents and crashes. The government needs to future-proof our transport infrastructure, and the budget is an opportunity to do it. We do hear about the possibilities of investments north of Nissan, linked to the automotive hub, and in my own constituency, work has begun preparatory work on a 55-acre industrial park called the Jade Park development adjacent to the A19. I welcome that should bring new jobs for bespoke manufacturing and a variety of other industries. But the failure of the A19 will make it more difficult to attract future businesses. If we're going to accommodate these new developments, I must urge the government to take some action and to use this opportunity in the budget to do so. The A19 is one of the principal economic drivers in my constituency, vital for manufacturing and export-focused businesses like Caterpillar and NSK until it closes the week before Christmas. Walker's Crisps. Madam Deputy Speaker, the lack of investment, maintenance and upgrading of this vital economic highway is holding back business in my constituency. I've raised the issue, I've tabled questions, I've even put down an EDM, but we need the government to recognise this and have some foresight, realise the value of investment and seek to future-proof our economy and support our regional development.